Okay, hello, so Nick Dempster here. I've been talking through how I set up an online reading record using Google Workspace, Google Sites, Google Forms, and Google Sheets. In part one and part two of these videos, I talked through the Google Forms that we set up for the reading records, including names and then the reading comments and so on. In the last section, I went through how I set up the website in Google Sites and I added in the Year 5 pages. This final video or set of videos, this is going to be quite a long one, so I'll probably do it in a couple of separate parts, is all about how the teacher interface looked. And this really did take some work, and again, I know I've already talked on making some mistakes on one or two parts of this. This was something that really was quite a kind of tricky one to manoeuvre. I did show in the overview of what this online reading record looked like, the kind of different elements to it on here. So you can see there's quite a few tabs coming along, quite a few different sheets within this Google Sheet. And a lot of these are kind of communicating with each other. So, for example, the reading competition is pulling information from this cohort table. The class pages are pulling information from the cohort sheet. So if we go onto there, for example, you see it says cohort, and I'm going to talk you through how I set this up and what I did, and hopefully help you that if you are going to set something like this up yourself, you won't fall into the same traps, make the same mistakes that I did. So we need to start here on our reading records form, because the first thing we're going to do is create a spreadsheet based on these responses. Just one thing that I hadn't set up on the earlier video, because I basically just went through and filled in names for 5TW. I've now just put in some random names for 5SW and for 5F as well, because hopefully that should mean that our Google Sheet that we're going to create now on this button here will then have the right number of columns on there. So please do make sure that you've created those questions. Even if you've only sent some example responses from one class, it shouldn't matter. When you make that Google Sheet spreadsheet linked to the form, it should make a column for every question that's being asked, basically, including a timestamp, which is really useful because that will tell you when the record has been posted, so the date, so you know when the child has read. So let's go ahead and click on Create Spreadsheet. It's going to create a new spreadsheet automatically, Year 5 reading records. That might be useful just to make sure you know where it goes, because then you might, in your Google Drive, want to put it in a specific place. I also, as a side note, I actually created backups of all of the spreadsheets that I created last year, and I'll be doing the same again before I share it out with staff, just because I know with the best one in the world that sometimes some members of staff or even yourself might do something accidentally and then not be too sure on how to get it back. So, obviously once you put all the time and effort into your Google Sheets, you want to make sure that it's there and it works. And if any mistakes do happen, you can revert back to the backup, or even just look at it and make sure you've got all the formulas and things in place. So let's hit create, and it should open up a new tab. There we go. And within our tab, so you can see here, you've got name, and name again, but these ones are empty. I'd even just thinking about that now, and I think I did on the Year 6 one. In fact, we can see it on the Year 6 spreadsheet. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, so I put 6D, name, and 6S. Now, I'm not going to open them up to show, but you can see obviously rather than just says name and name, it's actually got 6D and 6S. So it might be a good idea when you come to do yours on here, even though it says 5TW on there, just hit 5TW again, name, and the same in this one, 5SW, just to make it really clear and you know which one is which. Now, I might have to unlink my document. Oh no, there you go, it's done it automatically. That's better, isn't it? So I can see which class it is. Okay. Obviously, as I said before, these names are made up. They aren't actual children in the class. once I've finished these videos and talking through this, I am then going to put in the full class list, so you'd have 30 names in there rather than just 4 or 5 of them. So I've got my form responses. There's only one tab at the moment. Very first thing I'm going to do is rename that to call it cohort, just because then it will be easier to refer back to. And as I said earlier in the video, I am going to need to link back to that. I also want to have a quick look at how many columns I'm using. So obviously there's column A. It goes right the way along to column L. That's our last column. And I also want to have a quick look at the fact that it is column D that has 5TW name, not E or F. This will be very important when I come to do this kind of next step. So I want to try and remember those. So I want A to L, and 5TW is column D. Okay, and this will make a lot more sense in a moment. I'm going to add a new tab, and I'm going to call this 5TW. Now, once I've made this one, I'm going to make identical tabs for 5SW and for 5F, which will do the exact same thing as this one. But if I do this first one and set it up, I can then just duplicate it and then just change slight things on there. My other thing that I want to do is leave a bit of a space in here for two reasons. I'm going to want to put a title up here, and I'm also going to put what's called a slicer, which will filter out options in here as well, which again we'll come to a little bit later. So I'm going to start on A7, okay? And the first thing I want to do on this A7 is I want to basically pull information from cohorts into the 5TW page, but I am only going to want ones that are 5TW. Okay, don't want ones from 5SW or from 5F. So onto 5TW. So to do that, I'm going to use a formula which is called a query formula. Now, I may be wrong. I'm not an expert in spreadsheets, and I did a lot of watching YouTube videos and looking on Google to work out, the trial and error of how to do this. But I think this is what's called an SQL. And it does the same kind of thing, but we are basically querying information from another data point, in this case being the cohort tab, and filtering out the information that we want. So I've got query and I put a bracket. Now what's quite good about Google Sheets is that it will tell you what this formula is and what sections are up the data section. It gives an example of what it looks like, and it tells you what you actually need. Now my data is going to come from the cohort tab. So the first thing I type in is cohort and then an exclamation mark. So if I just type in cohort, it doesn't know that I'm referring to this tab. So you need the exclamation mark. I then need the information from there, which will start at A1, so that very first cell, and it went to L, didn't it? So I'm going to put a colon, L 1000. Now, as standard, it gives you 1,000 rows. So if I were to go down to the bottom here, it would stop at 1,000. You can add more, and you probably will need to add more so that you can kind of fit all the comments throughout the whole year. But it probably at this point won't let me go further than that because there are no more rows than number 1000 basically so far. So when I add more rows later on, I'll then change that as well. Okay, so that's my first step, and then I'm going to put a comma. And it says, right, so you've got our data now, we're on to the query. So what are you going to pick out? Which cells or which columns, are we picking out? So this is where, as I said, it's important that I know how far we went to. So we went A all the way to L, but also I said, which was key, is that we wanted D. So if you remember on the other tab, that was 5TW, E was 5SW, and F was 5F. So we don't want either of those. Don't want E, and we don't want F. Okay, so let's go select. So it tells you here you need to choose select as the option. Select, then a space, and I have to put in A, B, C, D, not E, not F. So the next one is G, H, I, J, K, and the last one was L. Okay, now let's have a quick look at what that looks like. Okay, so at the moment, it has picked out, let's go on here to show you, column A, timestamp, column B, the class, so we can double check that the class is definitely correct. Column C, who you're reading to. Column D, 5TW name, 5TW name. Then it's jumped. It's not taken E, it's not taken F, it's taken G, name of book. Okay, so name of book was there on E, and then so on up to column J, which is 2 less than this one because we've not got those. Okay, so at the moment you look and say, fantastic, I've got my information. However, let's just go quickly onto here and add in a third one, this time from another class. And let's choose a name. And again, let's just fill in and fill in that one and then hit submit. Okay, so that's been recorded. Now, if I go over to here, look, it's there straight away on the cohort, 5SW and B, and the ones that I've just typed in. However, this is 5SW, but it's popped up on my 5TW one. And the reason for that is that I've said query, go to here, select these, but I've not given a filter option at this point. So all it's doing is saying, right, okay, I need to go to cohort here. I need to select A, B, C, D, G, H, all the way to L and show them. Okay, so my next step in my query, so I need to go back, I haven't finished my query yet, is that I need to put, so I'm up to L, I'm going to put a where option, okay? And we're going to say where column B, which was our class, equals 5TW. Okay, and let's put a space there. And in fact, I need to put that in single inverted commas so that we're saying look for this exact statement, look for this exact set of letters and numbers. Okay, so let's try that. Now this should disappear because that is not 5TW, which we said in column B. We only want 5TW. Let's have a look. There we go, that's gone. Okay, now the issue we've got on this is that, let's go up one, the order isn't really, well, it isn't in any order. So, because I really want these to be, I mean, they are, just by chance, they're in alphabetical order. But if I went and added somebody else, or if I have 30 names, it's just going to be all kind of random, which isn't really what we want at the moment. We want it to be set so that they are grouped together. So what I'm going to put in, and again, it's not actually going to do anything yet, but what I will do is I'll add another comment and you'll be able to see it working. Okay, so I'm going to put order by, and we want the column that the name is in, which is column D, if you remember. D, and then I'm going to put ASC for ascending order. Okay, and then let's hit enter in there. Nothing's happened yet, but here's what I'm going to do. So John J is the top one. I'm going to add in another comment for John J. So 5TW, teacher, next. John J. And then again, ABC. One page. And submit that. Now what should happen now in my Google Sheets is that, you see there you go, it happens as I switched over. A second comment has been added. You can see, let's open that up. Timings, obviously it's been set later, so arguably it should just pop in under here. However, because we've said order by D ascending, it's now said, well, John J in column D is ascending, so let's shift that up, put them together. Now that's really useful so that you can see each individual child's comments all together in one go. So if Sam T has more comments added, they will stick together as well. So say Sam T, Sam T, Sam T. Now looking at this, I would say actually, do I really need column B? Possibly not. So if I delete that, it's still pulling the information from column saying where B equals, because it's looking at cohort. So it doesn't matter that I don't have a B here. I'd also look and say, do I really want who are you reading to come before their name? No, probably not. So let's change the order of these. Let's put A, D, and then C. That should hopefully just switch these. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, it does. So you've got your name there, then you've got who you're reading to. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to want to do this for 5SW and 5F. But rather than typing in all that code again, I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to change the name to 5SW. And then I just need to change this code ever so slightly. So I want to select A. I don't want D. I want it to be E. Because if you remember, on cohort, 5SW was in column E. In fact, let's have a quick look at it. Column E, 5SW. So in here, A, E, C. Yes, I do want C because C was who you're reading to. And then in here, where B equals 5SW. And instead of order by D, we're going to order by E. And if I hit go on that, it should just show me just one child, I think, because if I remember, we only had one child from 5SW in there. And there we go, it's and B. Okay, because I've come out of that into the other cohort one, it's automatically said, let's update this. Okay, so select A, E, which is 5SW name, you can see that there. C, who you're reading to. G, name of book, and so on. They were all the same as the last one, but this time where B equals 5SW rather than where B equals 5TW. Okay? And then I'm going to duplicate that one more time. And this time it's called my third class, 5F. So this time I don't need E, I need F. I don't want B equals 5SW, I want B to equal 5F. And I want to order by F, because I'm then ordering by name on column F rather than 5SW on column E or 5TW on column D. So hit enter, that should disappear because I haven't added any in 5F yet. There we go. Okay, I'm going to stop there for now because that's been a lot to take in, but that is how I set my class pages up so that I can see them. The next bit is going to be still a little bit more on the class pages because we're now going to add in a slicer. So I'll show you that on here. This thing here, which can then chop to just show ones from a certain week. Okay, so that'll be the next part, but I think we've done enough in this one video. So let's stop there. Okay, tune in for the next part to find out how we do the slicer and how we also do the competition, which is here, the reading competition. Okay, that's all for now.